on blast.
Diane Feely says that she cannot wait for the breakdown on this episode of the challenge because for the first time, she's shaking her head. I'm John Chidley Hill.
And I'm Sheldon Alexander, feeling a little bit pressured right now. I feel pressured, like I don't know.
We eat pressure for breakfast. Fortunately, it's actually Wednesday night, so we have time.
Sorry, I'm taking us off the rails literally 1 minute in.
Classic.
But when you just
Go
said
ahead.
we eat pressure, what was your line there? Sorry?
We eat pressure for breakfast.
We eat pressure for breakfast. I'm taking us off the rails early. And I'm
Great.
only doing this because someone said, I guess during one of the episodes or maybe at the end of last season, people were writing in being like, they enjoy when we go off the cuff about just randomness that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. And we didn't even get to the introduction of the actual challenge or what this is yet. I'm taking us off the rails. But your pressure thing, it made me think of someone we know, because he's a Northern secondary legend, one and only Glenn Jackson, who
Yes,
in
Glenn.
a high school baseball game, okay? And the reason I'm bringing this up is because people will understand this. We were playing in a high school Toronto semifinal. I think it was like a GTA semifinal game against someone. So I'll say this. We walk up to start the game and everyone's warming up. And Glenn taps me and he's like, yo, man, you see that guy over there? He's going to the league. And I'm like, the league? What league? He's like, the major leagues. I'm like, shut up. I'm like, who's that guy? He's like, Joey Votto. I'm like, oh shit. Okay, cool. So the message was do not pitch to that guy at all, right? Like he was that deal from high school. So much so that a dude actually said he is going to the league. And not only did that guy go to the league, but as you know, he's an MVP of the National League. But in that same game, Glenn Jackson, we're up 1 run in the top of the last inning. Glenn Jackson, as he's walking up to bat, turns to me and he says, now these guys are scared, so they're not going to pitch to me. They're not going to give me anything to hit. So I'm going to walk. I'm going to steal second. I'm going to steal third. All I need one of you guys to do is just make contact and I'm going to score. I'm going to score the run and we'll be up 2. It'll be a nice cushion for us to win this game. And I looked at him in such bewilderment. I was just like, what the fuck? And as he walked away, he turned and pointed to the dirt from sliding earlier in the game, pointed to his ass and said, you see that? That's clutch coming out of my ass.
Oh my
And
God.
I was just like, what? And my guy went up to bat. He walked. They didn't pitch to him. He stole second. He stole third. And someone just hit a flimsy ground ball and he scored. And I was just like, I got nothing. There was nothing I could say. So when you said pressure, that just made me think of Glenn Jackson in one of the most clutch, pressure-filled moments. We went on to the Ontario Championships and played at the Dome that year, but that always reminds me of Glenn Jackson and just pressure made me think of that. I apologize for derailing the podcast 1 minute in with a 3-minute story that was very Al Bundy-like, but hey, that's what we do.
This is You Killed It, the podcast about the challenge.
Oh, well played. Well played.
Thank you. I had that locked and loaded.
Well played.
You know who also had it locked and loaded was Natalie, who opened up this episode right where we left off with TJ telling her that because she just won a golden skull, she gets to choose if she's going to stick with Wes or choose another male partner. Wes, our mans, looked shook in that moment. What did you think of her choice to stick with him?
I get why she did it, right? Because she at least knows what she's getting with Wes. And I think a part that someone else brought up, it was Nani. Nani, when she was talking about being partnered with Kyle, she said their way of playing the game isn't the same. Like their personalities in terms of gameplay aren't the same. Well, the personalities of Natalie and Wes are the same. And I think that matters. So even though Wes, as Lolo says, right, Wes is the reason why Natalie was just in the elimination. That is true. But you could also say Wes is the reason why Natalie has a skull and is able to run the final. So it's interesting. I get her decision. Now, would I have made the same? Then you also have to think she doesn't really know the other people either. And at least you know Wes and you know his mind and how his mind works, and he's giving you the insight of what his gameplay is for the season. So it's better to roll with what you know at this point as opposed to taking the unknown of switching to who, right? Like, I don't know.
That's the other thing. The lines have been drawn in a lot of respects. Like, if
Yeah.
she were to pick someone else, she's not going to be at the top of the heat of that Cam, Anissa, Fessy, Leroy, the big brother, young bucks situation. She's not going to slide in to be like in the top 5 or whatever there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So might as well dance with the one that brought you. Even though, yeah, Wes is bringing down that heat, but also the format of the show is if Wes gets eliminated, so it goes, right? Like, now that people know the format of how eliminations work, Natalie doesn't have to worry because they're gunning for Wes. She'll just be able to flip later if it comes to that.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I get it. I totally get it. The part I did find interesting was this, because it's another twist, right? This rogue agent twist as CT now, kind of has to wait and see who his partner is going to be, but you didn't really get the full scope of it until the very end of the episode. But it just added another twist. But it also had CT in a position that I don't know if I like seeing CT like this, because we get back to the house and CT says that he regrets not picking Cam initially, right? And he's groveling. He's like sucking up to Cam really hard. And it's weird because on the one hand, I get it, but I don't like seeing CT like this. CT, I remember if you go back and dig in the crates of the challenge, CT's a badass. CT is a feared challenge veteran. CT is not begging for anything. And so far this season, 2 episodes in, we've seen him already beg for votes last week, and it didn't really work. And then here, he's sucking up to Cam, and, maybe it's a little bit of mind games, maybe, but I mean, it just looked weird, and I don't know if I like this version of CT. I get why it's happening, but it's like, no, I don't want to see this. I don't want to see this Charles Barkley, at the end where my guy's just like up faking, trying to make layups, or like Shaq on the Cavs. I don't want to see that.
I thought he was funny and charming, and I don't think I don't think Cam took him seriously. I think it was just him sort of trying to like buy himself a week, like take the heat off. Really, I think the only person that took him seriously was Josh, the world's most insecure person, who materialized like the jealous boyfriend to make sure that nothing was going on.
Well, hey, if there was one bright side to this, making Josh rattled, here for that. And it's funny that Josh was like, whoa, what's going on here? And it's like, he knows that he has something to worry about, right? Because obviously you would rather be partnered with CT than Josh. Of course you would, right?
Making Josh rattled is not that big of a challenge, though.
No, not at all. Something that was kind of rattling to me anyways, as I try to figure out these home workouts as we continue into month. I don't even know what it is anymore. I've lost count. But your man's Joseph. I've never seen that, but maybe he should get on Instagram with Jenny and start working on. So like, this is a Joseph home workout, because it looked interesting. He says he does 1,000 reps, but I don't even know what those things were. Like, it's like his 1,000 reps equal into maybe 20 real reps. Like, I don't know what that was, but Leroy was hilarious.
He was hilarious. I think that those exercises, his like little toe taps and his leg pulses or whatever he was doing, like, they would work, but also like in that house, you look at like Nam and Lolo and
Yeah.
CT and Leroy, Fessy, like legitimate world class athletes.
Yep.
And you see how they work out. What would possess you to work out in your street clothing on the floor
In the kitchen.
in the kitchen? Like, buddy, like put on like some shorts and an old t-shirt and like do them outside. Like what was like that's what I couldn't get over. You
Because
know,
like,
if that's the exercise that works for him, sure, but like
yeah,
the time and the location and like the clothing he wore, what?
it was just funny. It was just funny because it's just like you could tell right away this guy's kind of off. Right? There's
He,
something a little different with my dude here. Because at first I thought he was joking. Right?
yeah,
Like I thought it was a joke, like he's messing around or mocking the people outside. But then he's like doing different versions of it. He's like, no, I do my 1,000 reps. It's like maybe it's a stretching thing. It's like how he stretches. Cool, more power to him, I guess. Sure, but it was just
he's
strange. It was
he's the
just
perfect
strange.
example of a weird person that doesn't know that they're weird because they're normal enough to think that they're normal. You know what I mean? You know those
I hear you.
kinds.
I
We all
hear you.
work with them. Everyone has one
I hear
coworker
you.
that fits that bill.
I hear you. The other thing that was pretty funny, well, gets kind of interesting. There's a conversation about changing partners.
Hmm.
You got Cam, Nani, and Nicole talking about if they were going to change partners, if they had the opportunity to change partners, would they? And I was kind of surprised that it was Nani who was saying that she didn't like her partner. But then when she, as we discussed earlier, right, when it was time to kind of explain that she doesn't think that Kyle is serious about the game, or really their gameplay styles don't really mesh. Do you agree with that?
I think I wouldn't quite phrase it that way, but yes.
Okay.
I think the problem is that they occupy the same space in the challenge ecosystem. You know what
Okay.
I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
Like you can't have deer and moose in the same part of the woods because they like eat the same things.
Yeah.
Same thing. Like they're a little too similar. I honestly think that Kyle's a better competitor than Nani, although
Hmm.
Nani has actually won money. She finished second in
Well,
one
yeah.
season, but yeah, I sort it. So like, it's not that they don't mesh; it's that they're too similar. Like, I think it's better to have teams where it's complementary, where like one person's good at politics and the other is good at the competitions, or like
Hmm.
one's. I mean, Anissa and Fessy is a good example. They
Yeah.
complement each other because they fill in each other's gaps.
Yeah.
Nani and Kyle don't do that.
I agree with you. I think that Kyle is like a new aged male version of Nani,
Yeah,
right? Like they
I think it's a
occupy the same thing in the sense of like, hey, we can get down in challenges. We try really hard. We have a pretty decent social game. We might hook up once or twice during the house or during the season, right? Like you're totally right. They occupy the same space. It's like the same person, but maybe it's like Nani looking in the mirror and being like the Spider-Man meme. It's like we can't be
yeah,
partners. This isn't gonna work. There's only room for one of me.
yeah.
Uh, but there is one person who seems to have taken the house by storm. The whole house seems to be in a love affair with your man's Nam. Now, what do you make of this? Because Killer Cam was out here saying she's a taken woman, but if she was single, she is tempted. We know already. We know Lolo. We already know that was going to be a thing. Wes was even up in here, right? It was just hilarious. But I want to know, is John also a fan of Nam?
I mean, you can't deny that he has a killer body,
Yeah.
and
He works
also
hard. He is
works
definitely
hard.
not doing the Joseph workout plan.
No, no. The other thing is, and this is just particular to me, and like to each their own. You
Mhm.
know, you might have a different opinion, but he has a really good tattoo. Like, I'm not always a tattoo guy.
Okay. I don't think I've noticed his tattoo.
It's on like his upper thigh,
Okay.
and like I like a good subtle tattoo. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Okay.
Like, don't give me like the neck tattoos or the back of the head tattoos. Sorry, Kyle. but like
Okay.
a nice subtle tattoo that like you only see sometimes,
Yeah.
those are great. So I get it. I see the allure. Also, think how annoying most of the people are in that house. And
Mhm.
it seems like he rarely speaks and is very polite. So that would just like win you points.
It's very early, but he seems like a stand-up nice guy, right? Like he
Yeah.
seems like a calm and cool guy. He's kind of always doing his own thing. He's not doesn't seem to be the conceited dude or whatever. And he seems that like he's genuinely kind of shy about the Lolo thing as well,
Hmm.
which I'm interested to see how that plays out as we just get to know more about him. Um, kind of interesting. Kind of interesting. The challenge itself, like this actual competition, I don't know if I found it that interesting.
Ice
Um,
Spy.
Ice Spy, some interesting wordplay there,
Love a
but
good pun.
sure, they're pretty good at it. They're pretty good at it. I give good marks overall to the people behind the scenes coming up with these things. As someone that works in production, I appreciate that. As I labeled last week's podcast where I was trying to tell Raptors fans that you weren't getting Giannis Antetokounmpo, I called last week's podcast Raptors fans, let's be honest. Seated, right? Right. So I'm a nerd, and all I need is one person to chuckle at it, and that's fine. That's all
I'm
I
glad I
need.
could help.
Hey, hey. So Ice Spy. Let's break this down, right? So you and your partner have to go into the glacier water, swim out to a boat, grab a heavy block of ice, bring it back to shore, smash said block of ice, and there's a kill inside. You put the kill in one of your enemy's stations, and if they get 3 kills, they're done. The last team standing is a double agents. My very first thought was, how cold is the water? I needed to know that. But I feel like they probably don't tell us because there's probably some like legal concerns, right? Like if we found out how bad it actually was, we'd kind of be questioning the whole operation. No?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was cold enough that the ice wasn't really melting,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And not just in the air. The water would be much colder. They had on wetsuits.
Hold on, but why was it above the water though? I don't understand why the ice was still above the water. Like, why didn't the ice sink? You thought I was serious for a second there, didn't you? I was
For
looking
a
at your
second, I
face the
was
whole
like,
time.
Sheldon, please, no.
I was
Don't
looking at
do
your
this to
face the
me.
whole time, and I'm like, "Oh, he thinks I'm being serious right now." I'm
Oh,
doing.
no.
Can I keep a straight face? How long can I keep a straight face for?
Oh, man.
Uh,
So Nicole apparently is unaware that ice floats. And I loved what Wes said to her. By the way, like in this whole scene that was playing out as Wes was chirping Nicole for not
yeah.
knowing that ice floats. All I could think was like, Wes, you need every ally you can get. Like, go easy on poor
Certain
Nicole.
times though, where it's like being nice kind of goes out of the window because you're kind of so confused, right? And I feel like if it was someone else, maybe there's a benefit of the doubt where you're kind of like, hold on, what'd you just say? But because it's Nicole and he's familiar with Nicole's work, right? Her being like, wait, we have to carry that 70 pounds back? Like, isn't it going to sink? And Wes is like, wait, look around. Don't you see the ice above the water? It's like, wait, you've never had a glass of ice water? I actually laughed out loud. There are very few times watching TV where I genuinely will laugh out loud. That was one of them. Because it's just like, man, like I was really confused. I was just really confused. But anyways, CT can't play, right?
He's
Um,
out of there. Can't do it.
Nelson is playing and referring to
Hold
himself
on.
as
Scuba Nelly. It's
Scuba
not
Nelly.
it's not that Nelson's there. It's Scuba Nelly filling in for Nelson.
So do we now only refer to him as Scuba Nelly for the rest
Yes.
of the season?
Yeah.
Okay. Writing that down. Scuba Nelly.
From here on out, regardless of what the competition is, the circumstance, it's Scuba
Yeah.
Nelly.
Scubanelli. Also, did they even show him? Like he said, he worked on his swimming in the off season, but I feel like I still didn't get to see his swimming skills.
I mean, he wasn't last,
True.
right? That was
True.
Gabby and Leo, and I don't think it was on Leo. It looked
No.
like Leo was just like staying with his partner to encourage her, and like, hey, good for Leo. Like
Hmm.
that's being a good partner.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know. Scuba Nelly did not blow me away, but he also wasn't like an embarrassment. So
Yeah. This was a weird challenge in the sense, though, that it obviously didn't play out as the producers intended, which
no,
means like visually it wasn't that entertaining as of a challenge at all. And I mean, what did we learn from it, right? Because really nothing happened other than, I guess, like the most notable thing would have been Leo almost drowning. Or no, it wasn't Leo. It was
Menchie.
Menchie. Menchie, like my guy froze up, couldn't move, and like Fessy basically dragged him to shore and Wes came in to help him, right? Like that's kind of crazy.
I was
Um,
impressed with Fessy doing that. It's not easy to like swim someone in.
oh no. That's a skill, definitely. No, I know what you're saying. Because you got to be strong and a really good swimmer, right?
And you're
Like I
essentially
totally get you.
swimming with one arm, right? Like,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Totally. Um, but in terms of like, there's nothing really to break down other than Cam rallied people to make sure that Wes and Natalie were out first. And then everyone else was kind of afraid to put any of their kills for Fessy and Anissa, which I really didn't understand. I really don't get it. And I'm so confused by it. And I almost think that the producers have done such a good job with the twists and turns that now it's like playing into the minds of the competitors that they don't even know what to do. Because that was weird. Like, what explanation do you have for just how that played out in terms of everyone being like, "Oh no, we don't want to target Fessy and Anissa," which made no sense to me.
there's a lot going on here. The first thing is that's notable is like Wes and Natalie are eliminated,
Mm-hmm.
and Leroy, who we love,
Mm-hmm.
is still so set on eliminating them that he tries to put his kill in
And
and
Wes
pushes
is
out
so
someone kills.
salty.
And Wes, I mean, Wes, not a great look that Wes was so salty, but he was like, "We're already eliminated. Like, what are you doing?" The other thing that struck me about this was I have no problem with the strategy of Cam and crew being
Mhm.
like, "Those guys got to go." Like,
Okay.
okay, but like that's the first move in a chess game. What's your next? Like, who's your second target? Like, surely it should be Devin, right? Because
Hmm.
he's CT's not competing, so like Devin's probably is like
Yeah.
be smart about it, be organized, and also for a show that's dubbed Double Agents, be subtle, right? They were literally standing on the beach having conversations, holding all their kills, trying to like argue about who to like get out and so on. And like Devin and Kyle were both pissed, both in the moment and in confessional, calling them pussies, saying that it's a scared game. I have to agree, it was a
Totally.
scared game. Like, just like it's so easily squared away. Be like, listen, Anissa, Fessy, you guys are already winning. You've already won. You know I love you. Kill had to go somewhere. You know what? Like, it can be
But
explained away.
also,
Like,
but also to your point, it's not a fully fledged plan, right? Like there's no plan.
mhm.
So, okay, cool. There's Wes gone. Okay, but it's not even like they started at the beginning and said, you know what, our goal is to make, like, if this was a full on plan, you would have seen it from the beginning where it's like, hey, we're going to make sure that Fessy and Anissa win because we all agree that we want them to be in charge again. But that wasn't how it played out.
Yeah,
So it tells me that these guys don't really know what they're doing, but also more importantly, and we'll get to this, Fessy and Anissa also don't know what they're doing,
no,
right? They end up winning, and it was weird and anticlimactic, and there wasn't really much going on. I do want to give a shout to TJ, who was
yeah,
gassing, and this is why I think TJ is one of the best hosts, right? Because yes, a lot of hosts, you're saying things that are scripted and you're doing your right. Like you're reading from a script most of the time. You're probably doing a lot of takes, but TJ is also instigating a lot, right?
Yeah.
And you got to read between the lines a lot. And he's doing it on purpose. He's straight gassing where he's saying, it seems everybody was so intimidated by you, they let you win. I guess I might as well just write you guys a check now. And it's just like reminding everyone else, like, what are you guys doing? Right. And it made no sense, but he's also trying to be like, if this is how it's going to go, I'm going to make the target bigger on Anissa and Fessy's back. That if you guys don't understand what's going on here, I'm trying to tell you, you guys are just basically handing them a trip to the final.
Yeah.
But Fessy and Anissa are too dumb to figure out that, hey, you need to go into the elimination and get a skull to win the money.
Well, we'll talk about that in a moment. But
We will.
yeah, it was. I mean, you asked at the top of like discussing I Spy. What did we learn from this? And yeah, what we learned is no one really has a plan.
No.
No one really has any strategy. Even like a basic, I wouldn't even call it a strategy, but a tactic is what I would do is I would wait to see like when a pair goes to swim back out to the barge, to the boat.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I place my kill so they can't even see it.
Yeah, exactly. It's
like
true.
it's that up, but they're all standing around and like debating and consulting with each other, and like you're just pissing people off. Just like be subtle, make your move, and like hustle on.
Yeah, at one point everyone was just kind of standing around beside each other and it just looked weird. But speaking of weird, we get Joseph. And Joseph, when everyone gets back to the house, he's telling, I think he's with Leroy and Nelson.
Yep.
And he's saying he wants, sorry?
Scuba Nelly.
Scuba Nelly, my bad. I'm so sorry. We're
We're just getting used to it. It's okay, Sheldon.
I apologize to the listeners. I apologize to my co-host, Scuba Nelly. So Joseph is telling them both that he wants to go in. He wants Wes. And he's trying to tell everyone, I want Wes, put me in. Like, tell everybody to vote me in. This is what he says initially, right? Which we're going to keep track of. Nelson is trying to talk him down. Scuba Nelly, damn it. Scuba Nelly is trying to talk him down. And Scuba Nelly is saying, like, wait, are you sure? Like, you do know that Wes is a really good competitor. Like, it's not that easy to just go in against Wes. He's trying to talk him down. And I think doing a good deed by Scuba Nelly, educating the young buck.
Scuba Nelly and Wes don't even particularly like each other.
Oh.
But Scuba Nelly is, looking out for our guy Joseph.
Yeah.
And just being like, listen, you don't like stick around a little bit, see what you're getting yourself into. Because Wes can win in most competitions and has an excellent elimination record, including I know Johnny beat him last season, but like he's beating Johnny Bananas one-on-one. Like he's beating some killers one-on-one. So listen to Scuba Nelly.
Scuba Nelly knows. He tried to warn him, didn't listen. And we end up with one of the, oh no, sorry. I was almost skipping ahead too far, but we get a good conversation with Wes because Wes, obviously the birds start chirping. The challenge birdies are flying around and chirping, and word travels fast, right? That this could be a thing. And Wes is a hustler's hustler, man. I give Wes a lot of credit. He has a gift of gab. He can talk. He then tries to convince Fessy, Corey, and Nelson that he can be an asset to them. And I feel like, well, I guess it started off with CT first, and then Wes kind of did a better job for CT than CT could have because Wes put the spotlight on him more. And he starts off with this great speech about, hey, I can be the janitor. You just come in and I do the job and I can do anything. He's like, I've never had a job before. I've never had an actual job. And, quickly somehow he went from making himself the janitor to making himself the CEO of their alliance. Then even the three of them who might not be the brightest challenge competitors, they all stopped themselves and went, wait a second, did you just make yourself the head of our group? Which I thought was kind of funny. And, what did you think of Wes's strategy here? And did you agree with him? Do you think it's a smart move for the Young Buck Alliance to kind of work with Wes as opposed to going at him this early?
I think it is
Sorry.
foolish.
I messed up there. Let me ask you first. What did you think of Wes's strategy here? First, we'll start there.
I thought he started strong, but that he needed to do less in that conversation. And I have this in my notes a few times where I'm like, Wes, say less. Like when we get to
Yeah.
the deliberations,
Yeah.
he also like belabors the point a little too
I
much, in
enjoyed
my
it though.
opinion.
I enjoyed
Like
it
I
so
think
much.
what he says is funny and
Mhm.
like charismatic.
Mhm.
I don't know that Wes is getting the best edit this season. And by that I mean
Okay.
the way it was presented was that this was Wes's only game conversation. And like, we sort of saw him
Yes.
speaking with Kyle
Mhm.
and sort of with CT, but I'm sure that Wes coming over to Fessy and Corey and Scubanelli and CT to have this
Mhm.
conversation, I'm sure that Wes had had a lot of conversations with a lot of people leading up to that moment.
It's a very
Like
good point.
in my head, like when I was watching the show, I kept thinking, man, why are you even talking to these guys? Like, why aren't you sitting down and forging your own alliance? Like, rally up with CT, with Devin, with Kyle, with Nani. Like, there's enough people in the house
Oh yeah.
that you're down with. And, like, just point out, like, the numbers. Be like, listen, right now, the Young Bucks and the Big Brother crew, they're basically running together
Yeah.
with Cam and Leroy, who are, like, an entity unto themselves. We can't let that happen.
Mhm.
Like, forget how you feel about me. And like, obviously, he's good friends with CT, Devin, and Kyle, but like, gets along with Big T. Like, like, have a conversation. And like, but what I'm trying to say is, I'm sure those conversations did happen. We just didn't see them. And
That's
however
fair.
they went, Wes's conclusion was, I gotta go talk to these guys. Like, I gotta like say something to like get the outcome I want. Like I don't think we're getting the full picture on Wes's game here. So I didn't love it in the moment, but like sober second thought, I think there's more wheels in motion than we recognize.
Yeah, and I think there has to be, right? Because Wes is always going to be playing multiple games, right? We're going to know that Wes has plan A, plan B, and plan C all cooking at the same time, right? He comes into the house and he has alliances with multiple different sides of the house, multiple different people. So this season would be no different. And the other part of what you're saying is, I feel like there's a solid maybe 10 to 15 people that we don't even pay attention to or hear about in the house. Like, because even as much as we hear about Lolo or Nam, we know nothing about their gameplay. The two Ambers don't talk, right? Like, there's so
Mishi, like
many,
I forgot that he was in the game until he turned
for
into an ice
sure.
cube.
But we have no idea where their gameplay lands. Liv, every time I see her, first off, her eyes just like beam out of the screen at me because they're just so bright and beautiful. But like, I'm always like, oh yeah. Do you know what I mean? And then also Leo and Gabby, like all of those people, we have no idea where their allegiances lie. So it's so interesting in that sense. But you're right. And this is where I put my producer hat on,
Love
right?
it.
And I say, from a production standpoint, I'm going to show these conversations because these are the vets, right? This is what, if you're a challenge connoisseur, you're going to be used to these people, and these people are going to get you in to the season, right? It's the first couple episodes. You're making your decision. Oh, am I in or not? And you're already going to feel a certain way about Fessy or about Scubanelli or about Wes or CT. You're going to feel something about them as opposed to Leo and Gabby. There might be stuff going on with them that we're not seeing just because it's like, well, are viewers invested in them yet? No.
Mm-hmm.
So from a production standpoint, I'm going to big up that side of the house more with the people that we're more familiar with, that the viewers are more familiar with, that they're more attached to get them more invested early on in the season. So I get that and I understand it. But from a gameplay standpoint, now the next part of the question, is it the right gameplay for the Young Buck Alliance to partner up with West? Because what he was pitching made a lot of sense. He was saying, hey, I could work with you guys and we could target some other strong players in the house. Darrell, Nam, Lolo, Kyle, right? He mentions he only has Devin. Now the problem is trusting Wes. So the question is, should Fessy trust Wes? Right?
The I like the idea of the approach, but I don't like the execution. How about that?
Okay. That's fair. No, I like
I
that
also
answer.
think that like his sales job of being like, it's just me and Devin. First of all,
Mhm.
they know that's not true. CT is 3 feet away when he says this. They know that like CT went to Wes's wedding and vice
Yeah,
versa.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like they're dumb, but they're not dumb dumb. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And also, I love Wes. I love Devin. You know this. We talk about this. Devin's
Mm-hmm.
my guy in particular, and he had
Mm-hmm.
a great moment that we're going to get to soon. But in that house, the two people that I would be the most worried about being able to negotiate and flip the house around on me would be Wes and Devin. So to have
For
them
sure.
there and like selling themselves as like, or Wes selling them as, have us both in your alliance.
Yeah.
Like, nah. Like, and like
Yeah.
I say that from a place of love and respect for those two.
For sure.
But
For
like
sure.
they are poison pills. Like
Yeah.
they will get you. And like their strength is arguably the Young Bucks' weakness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if there's
Yeah.
anyone that can take advantage of the Young Bucks' lack of
Strategy.
certain strategy, that's a very kind way of putting it. It's going to be Devin and Wes.
Nope. I
I'll
agree with you.
also say, and maybe we miss this, but Devin has worked with the Young Bucks in the past before,
Mm-hmm.
so I kind of wonder if the move should have been Wes goes to Devin and say, Devin, our backs are
Interesting.
against the wall. Can you make the pitch? Because I think Devin might have been a better
Interesting.
person to be like, guys, here's what we're thinking.
Nope.
What do you
That's
say?
interesting. Very interesting. Very interesting. And while the Young Bucks might not dominate in the strategy side of the game, the side of the game that I know they do dominate in is the club. And
Mm.
I know this because there's just a scene that we saw in the trailer that, even now we see it in the episode. There's still no context to it. It's just Fessy dancing in the middle of like all the girls gassing him up, and he's like unbuttoning his shirt. And Teresa hits with one of the lines of the episode, not the line, but one of the lines of the episode, because I thought that was kind of funny. Like she's like, you can tell Fessy's catching his vibe because his shirt starts coming down, and it's also the only time he has a personality. I was like, whoa, like
So,
machine gun shots fired from
Teresa
Teresa out of nowhere. Like she came
just
off the top
murking our
rope.
guy Fessy.
Oh, off the
And should I
top rope,
say,
elbow smash.
that's the difference between being in the NFL and not being in the NFL. Am I right? Just that kind of ruthlessness.
Jeez. Like I was like, where did that come from?
I
But
love
I
it.
knew it was setting up a club scene, and we did ask on last week's episode of of You Killed It to send us your possible names for the club scene or what the club should be called. And I think I have a winner because I thought
Okay.
about it and something popped up to me. But we'll get to the people first, and I'll start with Panda Book. Someone named Panda Book on Reddit wrote in and said, I think the club should be called the Igloo.
Oh,
Club Igloo, the Igloo. Not mad at that. I like it. Has a vibe, has like keeps with the, glacier type vibe, the wintry, cold weather type vibe. I like it. I like
I
it.
like it. I like it. I will say, I don't know if you noticed this, Sheldon, but the MTV The Challenge subreddit now has a Twitter account,
Oh,
and
okay.
they tweeted about us in the
Yes.
past week.
Hmm.
And there's just sort of like listing different challenge podcasts, and they mentioned us.
Okay.
I forget how they phrased it, but they basically said we're OGs of podcasting about the
Okay.
challenge, which I guess we are at this point, which is weird to say. Um,
Sure.
they also said that we always bring the obscure Canadian knowledge. So,
Hey, we're talking about Joey Votto high school baseball games, okay?
well,
I mean, where are you going to get that info from?
all I'm saying is if Reddit's going to bring up the idea of the igloo, we could also call it a quinzee. Have you ever slept in a quinzee?
No, definitely I have not.
For those of you who are unfamiliar with a quinzee, it's
Okay.
a snow hut. And the way you make a quinzee is you pile up more than 6 feet of packing snow.
Okay. Of
Canadians, of course, are aware that there's different kinds of snow. Sheldon knows what packing snow is, though, I can tell.
course. Better for the
Of course.
snowballs.
Yeah, that's right. It's a heavy snow. So you let it sit for 4 or 5 hours and then you dig into it. And it's actually faster and warmer than an igloo. But igloos have a different kind of snow. Like it depends on the conditions. So could call it the quinzee.
Okay.
What other suggestions do you have for the club?
I have a suggestion just from myself. Like it popped in my head.
Oh, well,
And
because
the
I have
reason it
more
popped
to
into my
read.
head is because, sorry?
I have more readers that I could read their
Go,
suggestions.
yeah,
Do we want to save you
go
for
to the
last?
reader suggestions and I'll close with what my thought is.
Okay. Julia Lamanna suggests either Club Enigma or
Okay.
Dirty Martini because it just fits well. And then we
I
had
like the
another.
igloo better than both of those, but okay.
Molly Gibson Kirby suggests the Dirty Dome because she feels like
Ooh,
it'll be both dirty in hookups and dirty in drama, which I
I
like.
like that. I like that.
What's your suggestion, though?
So my suggestion is not too far off from that. And this is a very, very, very Canadian reference
Oh,
to
I'm
which
excited.
someone always told me that, you know, sometimes you throw things out for the 5 people that might get it, but that 5% or the 5 people that do get it really get it. And those are the ones you're doing it for. So our like Canadian listeners or who have visited the fine city of Halifax that might be familiar with the Liquor Dome. If you've ever been to the Liquor Dome, I'll just say, yo, it's a spot. Have you ever been to the Liquor Dome?
I have not been to the Liquor Dome,
Have you
although I've
heard of the
heard of
Liquor
it.
Dome? Oh, it's
So, with all due respect to Julia and Molly, and was it Panda Book?
Panda Book, yes.
Panda? I can't believe I remembered that. All due respect, thank you for the suggestions.
Mm-hmm.
The Liquor Dome. I mean,
The
from
Liquor Dome,
Halifax.
there should be a doc on the Liquor Dome. And just to break down, like anything that you think is possible that could go on in a club goes on in the Liquor Dome, from fights to hookups to bottles flying to whatever. And then the part about Halifax was that everybody after the club ends up at this place called Pizza Corner to
Yeah,
obviously get the pizza post the club. And there'd just be more fights at Pizza Corner.
yeah.
It's
Or,
just
I
an
mean,
experience.
I love it. And I
It's an
would also like
experience.
to recommend to our listeners, if they're not familiar, they should get a donaire.
Yes.
Or while they're doing that, while they're having a donaire, if they can get one and they're not in
Mhm.
the Maritimes, listen to the song Skotown Stomp, which
Okay.
is a rap song about the party scene in Halifax circa 2007.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. But
It's
yes, I still say the
beautiful.
Liquor Dome because the Liquor Dome was a club experience unlike any other. And I mean, it's highlighted by the fact that Halifax in general is just a great place. It's a
Oh, it's the
great,
best.
great, 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 great city. Super friendly, super nice people, great hospitality, great place. Highly recommended for a trip. Small town, you know, small town Canada. Still beautiful. Love it. Love it. Love
I
it.
th-
The Liquor
I
Dome is what I'm going with.
I think Halifax has the most pubs per capita or something like that.
I think there is something like that. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
a
yeah.
great party city.
Great
That's all I'm
party
saying.
city. Um, while we're in the Liquor Dome, though, lots of little things going on. You have Nani confessing to Fessy that she wants him as a partner. Fessy is obviously, anytime you're gassing up Fessy, he's just going to say yes to whatever. So cool. But he does make the good point. The more he's had so many different women in the house already say that they want him as his partner, which is good because then that means that they want to keep him around, which
Hmm.
makes sense. It means numbers on his side. Cool. Then we also get more of the Lolo and Nam stuff, which, okay, cool. Do you know what I mean? I thought that was pretty interesting, but at the end of the day, it was still kind of one of those things where I look at it and I think, is this real or is this Lolo acting for the show? Like what's really
Lolo
happening
for the
here?
show. I
What do you
think
think?
it's really happening. Like
Okay.
when we saw her earlier on be like in the bikini in the hot tub, sort of watching him work out, I was like, oh, this is one sided. But then, like, he was returning fire when she was getting out of the hot tub and like
Oh
flirting
yeah.
with him. Like he was reciprocating.
Oh yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
I
They're like
loved,
watching him change when they got back.
yes.
It's just
Um,
like, okay, this is awkward.
that I thought, I mean, first of all, it was clear that, who was it? Wes, Anissa, and Nani that were sort of the peanut gallery. Is definitely
I
Wes and
think so.
Anissa.
Yeah.
Um, First of all, those three had clearly been living up to the name of the Liquor Dome. Like they were definitely in their cups. You know what I mean?
I think the Liquor Dome leads to even more of a jam because like you don't have far away to stumble to, right? You don't have far away to, let's say, sneak off for extracurriculars, we'll
Oh,
say.
good point.
Do you know what I mean? I think it just leads to, more shenanigans, we'll say. And that's, there's no travel on the bus where, you kind of get wobbly and maybe sober up a little because you have to go to the bus or whatever. You know what I mean? You have this long bus ride back.
Shenanigans, huh?
Sure. Sure. But it looked
I
like a
also,
pretty good party. I still want the answers though. And if we get someone else on this season who was in this, I need a full breakdown of like who was a DJ, what was the music being played,
yeah,
who controlled the music, did you have the who like did you not allow control the music? I need details. Who can dance, who can't dance? I need a full breakdown of what was going on in the Liquor Dome. Uh,
I'm also curious about the alcohol policy in general because in previous seasons, like they
I
were
don't want to
allowed
know. I don't
to.
want to know because
No.
that makes it too serious.
Oh.
And I want it to be fun. I don't want to know. I don't
No,
want to
no,
know.
but like I mean, because in previous seasons they've been just like allowed to drink around the house. Like they're allowed to have beers at dinner.
Mhm.
They're allowed to have wine. There's the no clear liquor rule, or the crew will dye the clear liquor. But like, I don't think we've seen them drinking in the house. It seems like they only drink in the liquor dome.
Hmm. Maybe.
So I'm just
Maybe.
curious about like, because like one of the from production standpoint, one of the nice things is they're literally controlling how much booze they get,
For sure.
and like that probably has its benefits.
I
So
always wonder like how they even do these scenes in the club in terms of how they get content. That's just my producer brain working. Like, how do you even get content? How do you know what conversations to be listening in on? Do you fully plan it out like any other reality show? Like, hey, I need you to talk to this person about blank. Do you know what I mean? Or are you just kind of like trying to be a fly on the wall and be like, oh, what are these people talking about? Oh, what are these people talking about? I kind of wonder that. But anyways,
I
um,
think I think you just know though. Like I mean, obviously you've been in clubs beyond the Liquor Dome in Halifax. Like you
mhm,
just know when people are having like a conversation versus a conversation. You know what I mean? Like you read the body
fair,
language.
fair.
Production has the advantage of presumably being sober, and they can just be like, "Oh, like we see how Nani is has like cornered Fessy. Better get over there, sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. For sure. For sure. For sure. Totally agree. If we move on a little here, because we'll get to Joseph and Kyle and Kyle's vote and all that. We'll get to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we get a big moment here where Big T tries to confront Joseph because she starts hearing that obviously Joseph is trying to go in, and he denies it. But I don't really get why he denied it. But I applaud Big T for, confronting him and asking, like, hey, is this a thing? Like, we're partners. Like, shouldn't we know this? And he does try to flip it on her into like some mind twist, like, what do you mean? Why do you even care? Why is it a big deal? Oh, so you care more about Wes than you do about me, your own partner? Why is that? And it's just such a weird, like, yeah, I
It
don't know.
was it was clear to me that Joseph wanted to win the argument rather than understand his partner,
Mm-hmm.
make amends, or move forward in the game.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
it's pretty clear to me that Joseph doesn't understand what the priorities are in the game. Doesn't understand how to work with someone. Doesn't know how to speak to a partner. Like he just like doesn't know. He doesn't know how to read people. Like I said, with his like little workout routine, like
Yeah.
that's behavior that anyone would know is going to get you chirped.
No, for sure. I
It just
totally
happened to
agree.
be Leroy that was sitting closest and was like, "My guy, what are you doing?" But you know what I mean? Like
And
Joseph's clearly not a good read.
but here's the thing too, because it's a perfect example of what you were talking about earlier in terms of a plan. I don't mind his plan of going in, like wanting to go in and get a skull. We've been
Yeah.
saying, hey, more people should have that plan. But the way that he was going about it wasn't the smart way, right?
Mm-mm.
Like you could just say, why not just say, hey, I really want to go in, right? Like maybe that might not get you in, but doing it this way, I don't know if that was like he made too much of a thing about it. And at least be honest with your partner. And if you said to your partner, hey, this is good, like you should want to go into the elimination to get a skull, that would be it. But the whole fact that he was like, I want to go in and make a big move. No, you want to go in and get a skull, right? Like moral victories don't do anything, right? Like that doesn't get you to the $1,000,000. The moral victory of, oh, I made a big move by calling out someone that I think is really tough and then lose. That makes no sense.
It makes
But
no sense.
we get to the actual, can we get to the actual
Well,
deliberation? Because I thought that
there's
was interesting.
there's one thing I wanted to talk about because it sets up the deliberations as well, and that is Devin and Kyle have an important conversation,
Okay.
talking at first about how Devin can't understand what Nicole says,
Correct.
that there's no context,
No.
that like he knows she's saying something, that her mouth is moving, but he doesn't understand what. This is my line of the episode because it made me laugh really hard. He said, my partner is a very fit toddler." I loved it.
The actual quote
See,
is,
he's good. I knew Sheldon would
my
have it.
partner is an incredibly fit infant.
Infant. There you go. But in that conversation, Kyle and Devin are like, we gotta make some moves here
Mhm.
to help ourselves out and also to help Wes out because he'll help us out.
For sure.
We have to try to like Joseph is asking to go in. Let's get him voted in
For sure.
so that if Wes gets voted in, he can mentally prepare. If Wes gets put in by Fessy, he can mentally prepare. And we love Big T. Joseph's gone. Big T gets a better partner, presumably CT at that
Mhm.
point. Our alliance is strengthened. Joseph is gone.
But
Let's make
also
this happen.
too, this goes into what you were talking about earlier about the conversations we're seeing. We didn't see them go and tell the whole house, hey, this is what should happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, going back to the point I was making where we don't need to see that because it doesn't matter that they were able to convince the people that we're lesser interested in. We don't need to see that, right? We rather hear these guys talk about it and then see what happens. So that leads to the deliberation in which Joseph volunteers to go in, and my guy's talking a big game
He's
to
talking
Wes
a
about
lot of
how,
shit.
but he switched it up and said he wants everyone to vote in Wes. First, he says he wants to go in. Then he says he wants everyone to vote in Wes so that he can send Wes back home and tend to his money. To which Wes might have one of the greatest responses ever, because again, Wes, you can't try to get into a chirp off with Wes, right?
No.
Wes, as mentioned earlier, has a gift of gab, but also part of his delivery was just so perfect because he's just calm and cool. And he's like, you know what? There were a lot of facts spewed here. I mean, let's start with the fact that I am rich, which I just thought was hilarious. And it was just like line after line in a row with Darrell popping up with Wes ain't that rich. Real ballers don't tell everybody how much they ballin'. I mean, I can't disagree with that. I can't disagree with that at all. But I thought Joseph, again, he wanted to go in, but he didn't think through the plan. So now in the moment where you think that you're going to one-up Wes in front of everybody and make this whole play for the show, it flips on you because Wes is like, wait a second, why are they voting me in? Wouldn't it be smarter to vote you in? And so that Fessy and Anissa can put me in, which is a smart flip by Wes, right? Nobody else has to get blood on their hand by saying my name again when they can. Fessy and Anissa have already done it, so they can just do it. Like, it was just such genius gameplay.
Very well done.
Flip it on Joseph. And again, why Natalie stayed as partners with Wes, she's right there with them, right? Talking tough, saying, oh, wait, Joseph, I thought you said that you wanted to go in. So why now are you trying to take it the other way?
And Devin chimed in as well, which I think was helpful because if it's like when CT last week made his appeal, no one really backed up CT. I mean, from what we saw, I can't imagine Ashley kept her thoughts to herself in that conversation. But it helps, like, when you're trying to, like, persuade a room, it helps to have 2 or 3 people back you up just because it gives the perception that you have more people on board, whether you do or not.
Totally.
So Devin was smart to be like, yeah, and he even Leroy sort of bought in and was like,
if you think about it, Wes is pleading to the rest of the group, which is smart. What's the point in making them get more blood on their hands and making an enemy out of Wes when Fessy and Anissa have already done that? It was a genius play, but also the reminder for Joseph, you're brand new, bro. You don't know the game, and you think that you're just going at Wes, but there's levels to why Wes is one of the top challenge competitors ever, and one of them is a gift of gab. Very few people are going to win an argument with Wes on the show, The Challenge. It's very few and far between. It's very rare it's going to happen. And the disrespect levels of when Joseph kept trying to talk and then Wes kept interrupting him and saying, sorry, the champ is speaking right now. It's like, yo, the disrespect right now. Joseph did not know what he was doing.
Again, and like we've talked about this before, I don't know how these rookies are coming onto this show without having watched it before. Like, well,
you think you know. It's like the old MTV Diary, right? You think you know, but you have no idea. Is that what the trailer was for MTV
phrase.
Diary? You think you know, you have no idea?
Like, you don't even have to go that far back. Last season, Wes snatched Josh's soul when told him that I'm not coming for you. There's no way I'm coming for the worst player in the game. Like, all you need is that scene to understand what you're getting with if you talk shit to Wes. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying, like, oh, you have to watch all 36 seasons to understand everything. Like, just watch the last season, guys. Like, just go back one season.
I hear you. So the votes now pop up, and the votes are interesting again because Kyle ends up voting. So to go through this kind of quickly, right, to get to the elimination here, Fessy and Anissa have told their side of the house, which they believe they have the numbers, to vote Wes in, right? So they believe Wes is going to get the house vote, which again is terrible strategy by Fessy and Anissa, which we'll get to, right? Because again, Fessy and Anissa should be trying to put in a weak player and then deciding that they're going to go in against said weak player. But anyways, They want everyone to vote for Wes's team, Wes and Natalie. The rest of the house doesn't know that Fessy and Anissa get to see the votes. So now when Kyle is telling them, oh, yeah, I voted for Wes, he doesn't know that he's well, he knows he's lying to their face, but he doesn't know that they know that he's lying to their face, which was just incredible television because you're watching it and kind of cringing because you're just like, oh.
And he laid it on so thick.
He did. Doing too much. It's kind of the theme of this episode, right? Doing too much. You never want to be doing too much on the challenge, especially early on, because that's how you get yourself in trouble. And Kyle went from not really being a target to being the target because he was trying to do too much. So, because there are other people who also lied to Fessy and Anissa, right? It was Kyle, Josh, Leroy, Casey. There are a lot of people.
Yeah.
Who they thought they were tight with.
Most of the house voted for Joseph.
For sure. So, Joseph, obviously we find out Joseph and Big T are going in. Fessy, this is where it becomes even more lame. Because you get to the elimination. You get to, what are they calling it? The crater?
Yeah, the crater.
And you can see what it's going to be.
Yeah.
You can clearly see what it's going to be. And Fessy passes again. After, if you remember last episode, he stated, if I see that it's hall brawl or I see the ring in the middle and I know it's wrestling, I'm in. He said that himself. It's not like anybody else put it on him, even though that's the point of the game, right? That you should want to go in. The situation that he painted himself presented itself to him, and he did not take it. Why didn't he take it? Do you think?
I think he's not that bright. And I also think
I agree with you.
And like I like Fessy, but like his biggest weakness is he's not the sharpest tool in the shed.
Yep.
And I think that we saw it in Ice Spy. They're playing a scared game. Like Devin and Kyle both said, like this is the most scared game I've ever seen played.
Yeah.
And it continues to be. And like this is no greater an example than this. Like this is the matchup that Fessy said he wanted, that he should want. Even like from our perspective as viewers, we couldn't see what the setup was really. Mm-hmm. But Fessy and like everyone could because they're all up in like the grandstand. We, the viewer, couldn't see it. And I wrote down in my notes, man, if I'm Fessy and Anissa, I'm just like zigging when the house is zagging. Like, okay, the house voted in Joseph, expecting us to put in Wes. We're going to like flip the script. Fessy calls his own number, goes in. Just have the confidence to say, like, I can take out Buddy that does like baby crunches in his shirt and jeans at like beside the lunch table. Yeah. Like, Fessy, come on. Well, and like that's before we even knew that it was a headbang.
No, I go the other way. I'm pretty sure when they showed the shots, at least editing wise, when they showed the shot of the ring, they showed the circle. They showed like the thing in the middle. And right away I was like, oh, this is it. He should be going in. Like that was my initial statement before anyone said anything.
Anyway, you slice it, he should have been going in. Like
for sure. But the funny part is, even given the opportunity again to realize his mistake, right, in them messing up the gameplay, he still couldn't figure out that he should be going in. And I love TJ again stepping in and being like, I think I'm reminding you guys that you need a skull to run the final. And Fessy and Anissa, you're passing this up again? So in my mind, I'm just like, yo, Fessy doesn't want the smoke, but we'll get to that, right? So Joseph and Big T are in. Fessy thinks that he's pulling this huge gameplay by saying, oh, everyone thinks I'm going to put in Wes, but I'm not going to put in Wes. I'm going to throw in Kyle. And in fact, all you're doing is giving Kyle an easy go at getting a skull.
Yeah.
You're giving Kyle a chance to get the skull that you should want, which makes no sense because Kyle goes in and there's not even much to really talk about. Kyle dominated Joseph in that.
I thought
it wasn't even that close.
it wasn't that close. I thought it was an impressive showing from Kyle, who is definitely not the strongest guy in the house. He's not
But
even
I think no, but
top
Kyle is
seven.
scrappy. Kyle's scrappy. He's not strong, but he's scrappy. And I think scrappy dudes win this challenge more than the stronger dude. Like that
Yeah,
elimination, I think the scrappier dude, like a Derek. Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? Like those kind of dudes win that more than the bigger, stronger person. Because it's endurance as well, right?
The
And
other
will.
thing, the other thing about this is that, like, thinking in terms of the broader context of the
Mhm.
game, no one's going to come for Kyle's skull. Like, I assume there's going to be an opportunity at some point
Yeah.
where all the skulls have been awarded, so you have to win someone's skull off of them.
Yeah.
Just the way the house always breaks down in these shows, Kyle is popular enough,
Mhm.
protected enough. Like, he's never going to be anyone's number one target. Like, no one's ever going to say, like, we got to get Kyle out of here. So he just got, with going in, he just got like a free pass for 6 or 7 weeks, even before his
Mhm.
political decisions that we hear. But you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
people are still going to target West. They're still going to target CT.
for sure.
And on the other hand, West and CT, and to a lesser extent, Kyle and Devin, they're going to be going after Josh. And you know what I mean? Like,
And
there's,
also I think more importantly though, Kyle just gets to do what he was going to do anyway, sit back.
yeah,
Right? Like that's his game plan anyways, is to sit back and not try to cause drama and get into the eliminations anyways. Now you gave him a skull early on? Like come on now. It's just bad gameplay by Fessy for sure. And the fact that again, Joseph like if you're being serious, right? And you look around the house, how many of the dudes, if you're Fessy and you can pick the matchup against anyone, like who are you not picking? Right? It's like you would think Fessy might have a tough time against CT. Maybe you would say Kyle, maybe, but you'd still favor Fessy. You'd favor Fessy against pretty much anybody else in the house, no, except maybe Nam.
yeah.
And even still,
Except
you don't know how Nam is going to do in something like that.
except Nam and CT, Fessy stacks up physically well against everyone
Yeah,
in that particular competition, in that elimination, for
yeah.
sure.
He messed up. He just messed up. And again, I just think it's like there are a couple funny things that did happen. I guess I didn't mention that Joseph had mustard. Mustard gets rid of cramps. Did you know that, John?
No, I did not know that. Neither did Olympian Lolo Jones. And also, just like my guy pulled out like a little mustard pack, and it was like Dijon mustard. Like, it wasn't even like your
I don't know.
standard ballpark French's mustard,
I
and
got
like gave it
nothing.
a lick. And like, buddy, the your hands cramping is the least of your worries in this. Like, you can like put the crook of your elbow in, you know what I mean? You can put it on your shoulder.
Yeah.
You can wrap a leg around it. Like, you have other things that you can do.
No, I totally agree. It was super strange, super weird. I don't even know if like, yeah, I got nothing. I got nothing. It was just weird.
The big move though was after Kyle won. And I'm not talking about
Yes.
his vomiting up his dinner.
No. His hangover.
He did. Shout out to myself. Excuse me. He did what I suggested someone should do when they know they're being targeted, and that was partner with their enemy. So he partners with Cam. He
Hmm.
says, Cam, come on down. You and I are going to be a partner. Great move.
Yeah.
Great move for the Kyle brand. Great move for his alliance because it puts Josh in a weird position. He and Nani, there's a mutual Kyle and Nani, I should say. There's a mutual understanding between Kyle and Nani that it wasn't working out as much as they like each other. It gets CT and Big T together, which
Yeah.
Julia Lamana messaged to say hashtag Big CT. Um, like, it just sets off a whole chain of actions, chain of
Hmm.
events that's super beneficial to Kyle and to his alliance. Like
Yeah.
it's perfectly chosen.
Yeah, it was a smart play by Kyle. And again, the play out, the way that it plays out so that CT and Big T are a partner as well. I think that works for CT. It's kind of a good balance because obviously Big T is what he wanted in the sense of someone that has good house game, right? Like she's well liked within the house and has friends on all sides of the house. And I think that really helps CT's game, who doesn't have a lot of friends in the house, right? So I think that worked out for him as well. And plus, she might not be the best female competitor, but she's always going to try really,
Yeah.
really, really, really hard. And I think that matters. That
And
matters a lot in this game.
I agree. And CT is good with his partners. He wasn't always, but like
Yeah.
if he gets effort, and he will get effort from Big T for sure, CT will be positive, will like carry her share of the load when necessary. Like he really lifts up his partners,
Yeah.
and that's going to be a good team. I'm not saying that they're going to win, but like they're going to benefit each other and move further down the line. I also loved just the truth bombs that Kyle was dropping, like calling out Fessy
Yeah.
afterwards and saying like in front of everyone, like, are you kidding me? Like this was obviously a headbanger. You're a pussy. What were you
Yeah.
doing?
It's true. And because
This is
Fessy's
your thing.
like, oh, I wish I had come down. And it's like, you could have done that.
You had
Right?
that
Like
choice.
you had the choice. And they did put in the clip of, I forget what the exact quote was just before it was starting. And Fessy did kind of say, oh, did I make a mistake to Anissa? And it's like, come on, man. You knew that. You fucked up. I
I
think
also,
Fessy just didn't want the smoke.
yeah, which is crazy because as we've been saying, I feel like we're hammering this home. We're beating a dead horse, but Joseph is one of the people you would most want to face
Yeah.
in a headbanger.
I think we learned a lot about Fessy in the sense that, um, how do I say this? Fessy Fessy obviously is super strong. He's a super great competitor, but I don't know if he really wants the smoke in terms of the challenge house, right? Like, cool, he thinks that he can win, right? Because he's really strong and he's a really good athlete. But in terms of the gameplay, we know that he still doesn't really understand that. But also the ability of just wanting the smoke to say, I'm going in and getting my skull. We've seen that. He doesn't want that. And I feel that Fessy is more about the girls, like
Yeah,
he's more focused on the girls and the party, which, hey, we talk about bigging up Nani and Kyle all the time. Like, I get it. It's a challenge house. Like, there's a lot going on. I wouldn't be in a hurry to like risk myself leaving that situation either. But it just wasn't a good look for him. But I do want to read something because Sarah sent me something on Instagram, and I've said I would remember to bring this up because I think this is a really good thing to pay attention to for people like me who really like the behind the scenes, how does production work it, right? So she
hmm
says, with this structure, could they theoretically, could they theoretically make it a female dual elimination anytime they want, depending on who is selected? So think about this, right? So she was saying, she's asking because she's just talking about like from a production standpoint. So think about this. You get to the situation that you just happened where it goes in, and we know they're doing this under the presumption that it's a male elimination, right? But
hmm
what if production just says, oh, well, you know what? The way that this played out, it might be better for the game if we had Big T go against who was it, Nani,
no,
in this
yeah,
situation, and they just change it because we wouldn't know. How would we
yeah.
know what their initial plan was? I think that'd be genius, and I think that's got to be like we'll never know really unless they like tell us that it's some other crazy twist. But from a production standpoint, if I'm running the show and I see how certain things play out, I would assume that what I would do is there'd be certain points in the middle of the season where I would say, okay, we don't know if this is going to be a men or women's elimination, but here's our game plan. If the House votes go this way, we're going to make it a male elimination. If the House votes go this way, we're going to make it a female elimination. And I think that'd be amazing.
I honestly wondered. I think Sarah makes a good point because I honestly wondered from last week's episode if they saw, okay, we can lose either Ashley or Natalie, or we could lose Wes or CT.
And we
We
didn't
don't
want to
want
do
to
that.
lose Wes or
Hmm.
CT. Let's
It's a
take
great
the
point.
chance and see if we'll lose Natalie
It's a great
over
point.
Ashley. And I'm not saying that to disrespect Natalie. I'm just saying that CT and Wes are more valuable to the show, especially
Hmm.
a season without Johnny Bananas,
Totally.
than
No,
Natalie
you're right.
is. So
You're
I wonder
totally
if they
right.
called an audible there and they're just like, and then they're like, all right, we'll alternate for now. But it did cross my mind last week.
No, you're
Uh,
totally right.
Sheldon, what was your line of the episode?
So I'm bunching these together because they all involve Nicole. But that whole back and forth, the line of the episodes, like it all involves Nicole. But Nicole basically asking, like, do we really have to carry back the 70 pounds of ice back? Like, isn't it gonna sink? Asking that to Wes following up with, what do you mean? Ice floats. And she kind of looks puzzled, like, no, it doesn't. And he's like, you can't be serious, right? Like, you see the ice float, like, look around you and you can see the ice floating, right? And then as like you can hear Wes's brain turning and he's like, wait a second, have you never had a glass of ice water? And at that point he's just like, whoa, she really is a moron. To which she realizes, oh wow, I really am a moron. To the point where she's like, oh, I'm just joking, I'm just joking. But everyone knows she's clearly not joking because we've all
Nope.
seen Nicole's work before. That was just an incredible back and forth because I was just kind of like, wait, she's serious. Like, this is a thing. And then obviously, as you mentioned before, Devon's, as you said, it's got to be, right? Like that, my
The
partner is an
whole exchange.
incredibly fit infant. Like, I don't know if incredibly fit infant or Scuba Nelly is the name of this episode, but I mean, you got options. We got options.
I'm going with, I mean, I already said my line of the episode. The whole exchange between Devin and Kyle, where Devin just kept dunking on Nicole's inability to speak English,
Yeah.
killed me.
She's
I loved
saying
it.
words. Her mouth's moving. Words are coming out, but I don't know what they mean.
Even his delivery, where he just like leaned over and he's like, Kyle, I can't understand what my partner says. Like just the
It was
way
really
he
good.
like introduced it was wonderful. I think an incredibly fit infant will probably be the episode title.
Yeah.
Uh, but Sheldon, who killed it for you this week?
So for me, who killed it this week, which for people new to the pod, that's how we list who won the episode or the MVP of the episode is who we say killed it in this episode. And to me, the person who killed it in this episode is Big T. It's because
Oh,
the reason why I say Big T won the episode is because she realized that her partner was a moron, right? Like we've seen this developing from last week to this week. She realized, okay, I might have made a mistake here with choosing, well, she doesn't even know his name, right? She keeps messing up his name still, calling him Jacob, but she realizes that, then realizes that he was trying to throw himself in. But she appears to be the first person to figure out the gameplay, and the game twists and strategies, and be able to use that to her benefit, right? She realized, oh, wait, since it's separate eliminations, I'm going to use this to my benefit, and I'm going to try to get people to vote us in so that he loses, and then I can get a new partner. And it ended up working out for her. So not only did she, you know, fix the situation. Not only did she learn and become the first person to adapt to the rule changes and use the rules to her advantage in terms of what the elimination is, but she also went from having Joseph as a partner to CT as a partner. That is a win, any way you slice it. So to
from the
me,
cellar to
Big
the
T, you
penthouse.
killed it. Yeah,
From the
Big T,
cellar to
you
the
killed it.
penthouse. Yeah. For me, I'm going with Kyle. He loses marks because he got caught in that lie. Like that was not great.
Yeah, yeah,
But he really shook up the house in the best possible way by choosing to partner with Cam.
yeah.
I'm
This is a smart play.
Very smart play. He looked really good. As I said previously, um, he's got a golden skull now, and I don't think anyone's gunning for him anytime soon.
No. I also
And
like how shook. I like how shook Josh was
yeah, we
when
didn't even talk
Kyle
about
picked
that.
picked Cam, and Josh was like, "What? But I was just cheering for you, man. Like I was just cheering so hard for you, man." It's like, what does that have to do
I
with
love I love Kyle's response. Well, I appreciate that, but um,
it?
but I think Kyle's put. I mean, here's what needs to happen from like Kyle's perspective and Devin's perspective. Kyle, Devin, Wes, Big T, CT, Natalie, they have to get on the same page. They need a win in the daily competition, and they need to like shoot their shot at some other partnership. Like they need to like change the course of how the season's going, and in a hurry. And Kyle put himself and his alliance in a really good position to do that, right? Cam is now a little hamstrung, as is Leroy. Um, they're going to be motivated at least to keep Kyle around. Kyle's going to have to be in the rooms with them as they make decisions. Really good move. Obviously, CT has a partner now that everyone loves. The Heat, I think we can say, is off CT. And Josh is with Nani. And honestly, that's not a great pairing. I know they're best friends, but they're not going to win anything. They're not going to
No,
win
I
any
agree
dailies. They're not going to win any eliminations.
for sure. Nope, totally agree. Can't wait to see next week's because the trailer looked pretty funny. But yeah,
The
we'll get to
trailer
that
looked
next week.
great. There's going to be fantastic fallout from all this too. Like you know
Also,
that
hold
as
on, hold
soon
on,
as they
hold on.
get back.
Sorry. I can't believe we got through this whole thing and you named Kyle. You said Kyle killed it in the episode without mentioning his outfit in the confessionals.
Oh yeah, he's looking great. He's
Like,
looking sharp.
woof. I put out on Twitter. I tweeted out Kyle he looked like the dude from the 90s R&B group Color Me Bad.
Wow, you are so right. That did not occur. Holy shit.
Look it up. Get your Googles. Get on your Googles.
Wow.
Your
Sheldon,
mind is blown right now.
Sheldon, can I change it to that you killed it? My God, I'm just gonna after this episode, I'm just gonna sit and stare into space and think about that comparison. My God, where can the good people find you on social media?
You can find me on Twitter at Shell Alexander, on Instagram at Sheldon Alexander, and of course, wherever you get your podcasts on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Play, YouTube, all that fun stuff. Like and subscribe. You can watch the videos of the podcast. You can listen to the audio of the podcast. We hit you in all different ways. Let us know what you think in the comments. We like to keep up and interact with the fan base and read your comments from week to week. So hit us up.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at jchidleyhill. Happy Hanukkah to all of our Jewish listeners. It's, I believe, the 6th day or 7th day? 6th day. So, may your candles burn bright from us at You Killed It. This was You Killed It.
You killed